Hi there, and this is Kenny. We're at Podfest 2022, and with me I have
Josh Rackless, host of Spark the Genius, which is my podcast, and it's also the name I go by, Spark the Genius, because it's easier to spell than Josh Rackless.
Mr. Genius. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, it's Mr. The Genius. And actually, maybe it is The Genius, or maybe, I don't know, if that's my middle name? You're right, Mr. Genius. I'll go with that.
Let's do it.
Right.
I love it. So I wanted to ask some people some questions regarding clarity. In sense of, why they do their podcast, why they have the passion behind it. So in your case, how did you discover your love for your topic of your podcast?
That's a good question. I've always loved doing creative stuff. Like I've got a cassette tape that I made a radio show of when I was 12 or whatever, before the internet. And then I've hosted some talk radio, and I've been researching for years, how do I do a podcast? And finally, we're here at Podfest 2022, and just before Podfest 2020, I thought, okay, I got to start my podcast, and I'm like, I'm going to be like Perez Hilton and interview celebrities and be famous and live in LA, and I just wound up rambling on a video about Indiana Jones, the new movie or something, and I'm like, okay, I'll upload that as my audio. But then as I did more, I realized, well, first of all, celebrities aren't going to come on some random person's podcast. It's not good for their brand. And then I just started talking to people who would talk to me on Instagram or LinkedIn, and I discovered I was always asking them for their secrets. Like, what's your secret of life? How do you make money? How do you fight stress? Are you happy? Why have I done all these mistakes in my life? And so I came up with the name Spark the Genius because I wanted a cool, like, one-syllable name, Spark. But also it kind of fits, like, I'm Spark the Genius, but I also want to spark the genius within you and help you figure out things for your life, and you can learn with me. And so, yeah, it's kind of fun, casual conversations, kind of like a general show, like Mark Maron might interview anybody. I'm like, I want Jennifer Lawrence to come to my garage, but until she does, I get to talk to great people like you or whatever. So, yeah, so that's it. It's kind of become... even during the pandemic especially, I was so lonely and isolated. I'm like, I want to talk to people. So this gives me a reason to message people and say, hey, do you want to come to my podcast? Because otherwise, it's like, hey, do you want to talk to me for an hour? What? Who are you? No, but if you've got a podcast, you could... Because, if you had just said, hey, can I sit down and talk to you? Well, I would have said yes anyways, but it's easier to say, hey, I want to interview you, right? Mm-hmm. I was on a plane to Israel a few years ago, and the girl behind me in first class looked familiar. I was like... And I looked her up, and she was Leo DiCaprio's ex-girlfriend. I'm like, wow. And my friend messaged me, and he's like, oh, yeah, she was just on the Howard Stern show. And I'm like, you know what? When I get back to Toronto, I've got to start a podcast so that next time I see a supermodel, I can say, do you want to come on my podcast? And I'll have something that she can come on. And I still didn't do it for years, but now I've kind of got it. And then even here at the convention, rather than just coming up to people and saying hi and handing my business card, I was like, hey, do you want to do a little interview? And then I get to talk to somebody. I talked to this guy, Eric the trainer, some celebrity trainer today, and we just sat down for 10 minutes and talked, and we sang karaoke together in the interview, and it's like, and now I've got that, memory forever, and I've got the video to show other people. So that's what this kind of is for me, I guess, learning about life and also getting to just have good conversations with people. And
that's also a great segue for the next question, because my thing is, like, I want to figure out what I love in life and what I can do with that. I'm turning 30 this year, so it's a big turning point in my life. And so, do you have any advice for people who are lost in life, or another way to say it, who are looking to reinvent themselves in life?
Yeah, that's a big topic on my mind, because I'm turning 50 in the fall, and 30 is a big one too. Like it makes you think, but I'm glad you're thinking about it now, because in 20 years you go back, oh my God, 30 was so young. So you can still do anything. But at the same time, the time does fly by. So if you just sort of sit by and go, yeah, one day I'm going to do whatever I want, that time will go. I feel like I even wasted the past 2 years since the last. I'm like, what have I done for 2 years, So I would say sit down and pause. Like a guy, Alex, a couple of days ago was giving a talk, and he said he sat down at 34 or something, or maybe he's younger. But he just said, okay, what do I want out of my life? Like what? And so he quit his corporate job, and he decided to start his own business. And so, yeah, don't let the time fly. Like, to actually sit down and make a plan. Like I wish I had sat down and said, okay, you know what? I want to have kids. Okay, what age do I need to do that by to make it realistic? At what age can women still have kids? If I want to move to LA, okay, how am I going to make that happen? Or should I just do it? Like, don't wait on things. Just say, if you want to go to school, do it now while you're still young or whatever. and so that in a couple of years you have your degree or whatever it is. So don't let time just fly by, because I had all these things like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a comedian one day, but I never focused on it. I spent a year writing a screenplay and won an award for my first draft, and then a producer gave me some notes. This is like 10 years ago, and I never did anything with it. I'm like, why did I waste a year writing this and then not even pursue it more? Why did I take 2 years of improv classes but not audition for Second City every year? Like, I sort of start things and then let them go. So don't do that. Like, figure out, and it's what you're doing. Your girlfriend just said, hey, 20 minutes ago you were here supporting her with her podcast, and you're like, I want to start my own, and you're just doing it. And thank God you are, because one day you'll look back and go, maybe you would have waited a year before starting it or something.
Yeah.
And then you'd have lost out on that time. You wouldn't have talked to me. You wouldn't have had a year of growth, and technology changes anyway. So maybe podcasts won't even be a thing in 2 years, and so you need to do it now while you still can. And so, I guess that would be my advice. Sort of actually sit down, think about how old you are, think about where you want to be in a year or even a month. Like, don't waste time. Like, I look back, I had a great time in Europe when I was 20 for a month, and I never went back. And it's still, I think about all the time, like, why didn't I go back once a year? Like, why didn't I go back all the time? Why didn't I go live there for a year? Like, there's so much I could have done, but you just sort of get in your rut. You're like, well, no, I live in this city, I've got my job, I need my job. You don't need your job. You don't need to be making money doing something you don't like. Like, you can always make money in different ways. If you want to just go move somewhere or volunteer or become a teacher or whatever it is, do it now. And I like to think that I can still do things. I've been talking to people here that are older than me saying, no, they've pivoted. Everybody's pivoted in the pandemic. Everybody's reinventing themselves. So it's never too late. But it starts to feel like it's too late. Like, even when I was 47, I was like, I could do a master's so I could be a teacher one day. But I'm like, oh, I'll be 49 when I finish it. And then, 2 years has flown by, so maybe I should have done it. Or I got a job offer at a radio station last year, and I was like, I'll be turning 50, and it's in a small town. Like, by the end, because they wanted me to commit for a year, so I didn't do it. But it's already been half a year. I could have been doing it. So you can't really think like, oh, I'll be too old when something finishes. Just start now, because I kind of still feel young. I'm still running around doing my thing. So if I'd known 10 or 20 years ago that, oh my God, at 49 I could still do stuff, maybe it would have changed. When I turned 36, I'm like, oh, I'm too old to do anything. Know. But you look back, you're like, oh my God, I could have done anything. So yeah, just I'm glad you're doing it now and you're just taking action.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You don't look your age, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah,
of course. Just want to let you know.
Thank you. Yeah, somebody said that today. They're like, oh, you're young, and even a couple days ago, I went to karaoke with some people, and then afterwards, I was like, no, I should have talked to people, and they're like, why didn't you just go talk? I'm like, I'm too old to talk to people in a bar. They're like, you're the oldest. I said, I'm the oldest person in the bar. They're like, you're not even the oldest person in the car. How old are you? And I told them, they're like, oh yeah, you are the oldest. Okay, but you look here. but yeah, it's it's like you could still, I don't know. People tell me I'm ageless, just like, they don't really know how old I am. They just like my personality and my sense of humor, and so yeah, just be who you are. And I keep hoping that technology will cure aging in a few years anyway, so might as well just enjoy life while we're here, and then and who knows what'll happen in the future, right?
Yeah, we're definitely hitting at that point.
Yeah.
Do you have any tools or resources that you recommend for people to find clarity in their lives, to find resources to help them find and develop what they would like to do?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had known all of that years ago, and I'm still looking for it. There seem to be a lot of life coaches, like Tony Robbins is good, or Dean Graciosi I follow on Instagram. He talks a lot about clarity. So I think there's a lot of people like that are coaches that you could sign up for their program, and they sort of walk you through it. They're like, okay, let's sit down. Where do you want to be? What do you have to do to get there? And a lot of it is accountability. I was talking to a woman on Instagram recently that says she does a weekly coaching call every Monday with Dean, and they sit there and they all compare notes, and he gives them motivation. And it's like, I think something like that would be useful, because I wish when I was younger somebody had sat me down and said, hey, yeah, here's what you want to achieve, here's how you, like, just somebody to keep you honest and accountable, and maybe somebody who knows a bit more than you, because otherwise you're just sort of floundering, and you're like, I don't know what to do, and I don't know if I'm good enough, and I don't know if I'm too old for this, and then just time flies by. So and I find it hard just to do anything alone. Like, I just get lonely, like even uploading my podcast. I'm like, I don't want to sit there and edit my podcast or whatever, like in my room alone. Like, I feel like I want other people around me. So even to have a group of people that you can talk to and do things with would be a good thing. So yeah, I mean, look up any kind of life coach that's sort of and there's personal life coaches too that you can pay for one-on-one coaching. It doesn't have to be a celebrity life coach, but anybody like that. And there's tons of books. People say, like, somebody yesterday was saying, like, buying a book is like for $15 you get somebody's all their knowledge kind of thing. So Ty Lopez has a list of books he reads, all of that stuff. It's all knowledge. Maybe get a therapist, like some cognitive behavioral therapy, just to work through your emotions and deal with any stress you're having, so that you can have the right mindset to keep focusing. And I find that if you can just keep moving and doing stuff, you'll feel better. Don't wait until you feel better to exercise or to start your podcast. Just do it now, and then you'll be glad you did it and you didn't lose time and then you'll feel better for having done it, rather than waiting till you feel perfect to do it.
No, definitely. That's good advice. I started therapy during the pandemic just because, it was so unlike anything we'll ever experience, hopefully again.
Yep.
And I've been doing it ever since. I see it as an investment towards myself. Yeah, it's money out of pocket. I'll pay for it 10 out of 10 times. It's completely changed me as a person. I'm learning to love myself and gaining that confidence in order to do things that, again, this podcast.
Yeah.
With these questions I'm asking you.
I know.
And it's going to be game changing. So yeah, definitely.
And it's a huge, you're at a podcast conference, so that's intimidating to go up and say, hey, I'm going to interview you for my podcast, because pretty much everyone here has a podcast, right? And you're just coming in starting it 10 minutes ago. So, that takes a lot of courage, and I'm glad you're just taking the leap, and you've got the support of your friend here. Well, she's filming me because I'm like, here, let's get a video of this. And so, you know what? I find it hard to go up and just talk to people here and stuff. And I've been trying, but it's still hard. So, and it's certainly not easy to do what you did. Just like, hey, can I interview you? I'm like, who? What? Who? Like, I thought you worked at Podfest. You were going to ask me for a quote about the festival or something, and you're just chatting. So, this is a great thing. And especially now, like when I was younger, there wasn't the internet. So, I did what I could. I had my cassette tape of my radio show or VHS tapes of my comedy, but now you could literally record somebody on a podcast right now and upload it, and maybe the world can hear it. So that's another good reason that you're doing it right now. You're jumping on it. Every day you waste is another day that people could have discovered it and that you're losing out on. So yeah, just throw it out there. This is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. You're my first interview, actually. So, and hey, sharing that content too for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll film it, and maybe I'll get the audio from you so I can stripe it on so it sounds even better. Because I was thinking, I should plug in my lavalier, but it's like, whatever, you just do it. Because I used to worry about I got to find the perfect mic, and I got to have the perfect, studio and everything. But I sold my condo a couple years ago. I was like, you know what, I can just interview people in coffee shops, like in hotel lobbies, or I can do like what you're doing, sit on a bench with someone. If a helicopter goes by, who cares, right? You don't need to have perfect anything, so don't ever let that stop you. A lot of the top podcasts, they keep saying, look, I'm recording this episode just speaking into my phone microphone under a pillow or something. So yeah, it's not about the perfect mic. A lot of people I can't do it until I have a fancy ring light or whatever. No, just start recording, get your crap out there. Worst case, we've talked for 10 minutes and people talk for 10 minutes all the time and they don't record it. So this way you've got a recording and now it's a show, and you're inspiring other people. Other people go, oh, I can just plug in my phone and buy a mic for a few bucks and just record people. Even just that, you're changing the world by showing people they can do it. So
yeah, a big key word I've been listening to this past weekend here, impact.
Yeah.
What these interviews and content, what impact they can have on people around you. And this place has been filled with creators all over the place. So
yeah,
it's a really good opportunity just to learn and spread knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. It's inspiring to see all the people here because they're all working on something. I feel like they're my people. I could go to a different convention about comic books or something, but here I'm meeting people that are all wanting to talk to people and learn and grow, and people of all ages, and it's just made me feel really good because I was feeling really dark during the pandemic, just being locked down at home and feeling like not a person anymore. And now I'm like, oh, right, there's people out here, there's people doing things. It feels so good. I just got out of my own head. And yeah, the impact they're talking about, everybody here has something. There's hundreds or thousands of people listening to their podcasts and stuff, and it's really inspiring. How many people's lives can change. I listen to podcasts, and all you need to hear is one tip, and you're like, oh right, I should do that with my life, and it changes your life, kind of thing. Or it just brings people joy. A lot of the podcasts I listen to, I just tune in every day because I'm I just want to hear their voice. I want to hear that they're out there doing something, and it gives me comfort as I'm falling asleep or whatever. So.
No,
and now you're one of those. Now you're one of those voices. So
we'll get there. I hope so.
Whatever.
Josh, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. Your information was really. It's going to help. It's going to help me. It's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you.
I want you to know that's my hope. For the people who want to learn more about you and your podcast, where can they find you?
Yeah, right now I'm using the name Spark the Genius, so it's at Spark the Genius on Instagram, or I will have sparkthegenius.com direct to my podcast, or if you search Spark the Genius on any podcast app. But if I ever change it, you can look up Josh Rachlis, Rachlis, because that's my real name, and I'm verified on Facebook, so you can find the blue check mark. And yeah, please subscribe and leave a comment. And then I would love to, maybe I can have you on my podcast sometime, and we can even interview someone together. I use this thing Riverside now, and you can come on and we can do a 3-way video call and talk to people and just collaborate and stuff. It'll be fun.
Let's do a progress report on that. That's a deal. That's
awesome.
A deal.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mr. Spark the Genius, thank you for your time, sir. Much appreciated.
Thank you so much. What's your name again?
My name is Kenny.
Kenny. All right.
Kenny-O.
Kenny-O, my God.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Have a great rest of your day.